Thanks, Lori. So getting into it, let's go ahead and look at our agenda for today. We're going to start off with some obligatory introductions to myself and Pete. We're going to define MES as a baseline for our conversation today, which is a manufacturing execution system. And then we'll be discussing the status quo, meaning the process by which most companies abide with MES systems. We'll dig into the challenges that these processes pose and which we've learned to accept as maybe part of a way of doing things. And we'll look at how those challenges really bear an impact on your business. Lastly, we'll see how Autodesk Prodsmart can help improve processes and provide your business with the relevant data that will allow you to improve your whole business. And at the end, we'll wrap up with some Q&A. So my name is Mark Allen Flayler. I'm a technologist or engagement engineer. I've been with the company for 17 years as a trainer, consultant, and implementer. I am one of less than 10 platinum accredited instructors for all of US and Canada. I'm joined today by Pete Markovic, senior solutions consultant and project manager with our company, who's been with us for 12 years. And he has over 30 years of industry experience and has specialized over the years in PDM and PLM. I used to fondly call Pete PLM Pete back in the day. An introduction to IMAGINiT, in case you don't already know who we are. We ensure comprehensive solutions to our customers. So we do that through multiple key partnerships with our sister companies and with other technologies. So IMAGINiT is your strategic partner for operational excellence around Autodesk technology. We have Ascent, which is a leading provider of high quality professional learning products to train users of Autodesk software and non-Autodesk software, as well as process documentation. We have RANSIM, which is a platinum trusted partner focusing on helping organizations use engineering simulation software. And RAN3D, which is a leading provider for training and consulting for some other non-Autodesk related products. We've also brought to you over the years products for power and utility industries, Epic Games for visualization, ProModel for discrete event simulation in the manufacturing sector, as other partnerships that we bring to our clients. As an organization, we do focus on many solutions. Some of these have very pertinent key points to our conversation today, such as software jump starts, software development and execution, process automation, data management, and strategic business planning. Without further ado, we'll jump into manufacturing execution systems, though. So manufacturing is changing fast, and staying competitive requires very efficient and high quality processes. And this can sometimes be a moving target for a lot of companies based on changes that we might find in the market, both controllable and uncontrollable, such as supply chain issues or issues with suppliers shutting down, things of that nature, but also with our workforce. So here comes manufacturing execution systems. Now, these aren't really new. It's just maybe a newer acronym to you if you've never seen it before, but MES is any structure that monitors and tracks and documents and controls your process of manufacturing goods from the raw material phase to finished products. And it uses data to help provide information about the production progress. Now, there's some popular acronyms that you might also conflate or run into when you're talking about MES systems, or you're talking about manufacturing excellence in general, right? So first one to talk about is PDM, right? That stands for Product Data Management. That's a system which centralizes product-related data and processes, primarily engineering, right? Engineers will use PDM software to track revisions, manage change orders, generate bills of materials, things of that nature. And in the Autodesk world, we typically think of Vault or Fusion teams to manage our product data. We also have PLM, which stands for Product Lifecycle Management. And that's a system used to manage the product development lifecycle from conception and design and sampling in production. It's a collaborative solution that usually extends beyond your walls, which can bring together data, people, and processes to aid in your organization's ability to develop its products. Here we typically see Fusion Manage, and then we also have a product that kind of straddles the line between these two called Upchain. We also have MRP, which is Material Requirements Planning. That's a system for calculating the materials and components needed to manufacture a product. And it often consists of inventory control, identifying what's needed, and scheduling their production or purchase. There's also ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, that's a comprehensive system that consolidates all aspects of business, including customer relation management, or CRM, purchasing and accounts, human resources, material requirements planning, and supply chain management. Now, at IMAGINiT, we've created Pulse middleware to easily connect these products together for proper data integrity across these different systems. Now, it does allow these systems to do what they do best, right? So MRP does things very exclusively that it does really well. So does ERP, so does PLM, so does PDM, right? And then last but not least, we have MES, which stands for, again, Manufacturing Execution System. And that's going to be the focus of our introduction today for this new Autodesk product called Prodsmart. Now, some MRP and ERP software solutions do offer bolt-on or additional modules that can do MES. There's also existing MES standalone technology in the marketplace. It's not a new idea, right? However, they're typically built in for companies with large budgets and dedicated IT staff, companies that would use products like SAP or Epicor or Infor as an example. And there's usually some common roadblocks associated with using those bolt-ons or using some of these other legacy products which are in the market. And that includes time, money, and adoption. For instance, for legacy systems that bolt on to existing MRP or ERP systems, you can have anywhere between 6 to 18 months to implement a legacy technology like that. And during that time, you don't see any real productivity benefit, because these systems require full migration of a company's data and processes before you can begin using the tool. In addition to the immense amount of time required to implement from the delivery side, there's often significant costs associated with implementing and supporting these solutions which bolt onto your ERP or MRP systems, which can be prohibitively expensive for small or medium-sized businesses. And then after all that money is invested, the results are often less than desired. User adoption by workers is usually slow due to inefficient hardware or complicated user interfaces of these bolt-ons, which are not purpose-built for an MES solution. And back office setup is challenging because of the rigid rules within the software that is inflexible to adapting to a company's process. And on another note, even inside the large organizations which have an existing MES system in place already, there are often smaller groups that don't abide by those rules, such as R&D groups. They might have different processes than the company in general. And to incorporate their process into an existing MES can be quite challenging. So let's take a look at what a typical MES production workflow might look like. All right, so does this look familiar? There are nuances to every business, but usually the start of production process or production in general, a work order is created. Then there are various stages, such as material procurement and the various operations needed to produce that order. But how is the process started? How is the production information moved from step to step? And how is that production tracked? You probably have seen something like this, right? Paper travelers, Excel spreadsheets, job boards. These are all pretty common in small to medium businesses for manual MES systems. Because yes, even a paper traveler is a MES system. You're tracking things as they go through the process. Most companies will use a template where the initial entry of data might be digital, like in Excel, or in a Word document or a form. And that might include product ID, and name, and quantities and dates. After all that, though, it's packaged up, printed out, and then sent to the shop floor to be processed and completed by the workers. They'll then go through a manual data entry process to populate the production information before it's received at the end of the production process. So what challenges with this manual system are making your life harder? Well, going back to the workflow, we can see the paper traveler moves the production information along each stage. As it travels throughout the production floor, information from the manufacturing process is captured, written down, and recorded on the paper traveler. This is used to indicate when each stage is complete, possibly with information such as there was a quality check that took place, or there's a machine malfunction or breakdown. Anything that's gathered along the way would be captured in this paper traveler. Once that job is completed, the packet is returned. And then we have to go through all this manual data entry at the end of the shift or at the end of the day. So given an 8-hour workday or 12-hour shift, perhaps, you might have a mountain of paper waiting for you the next morning to input your data back into a system. Now, what happens throughout these processes? Well, maybe at operation 1, someone had to scribble something out or make a change, right? Because they did it in pen and not pencil. Maybe at operation 3, a mystical genie appeared and instantly the traveler disappeared for a period of time and we lost it and we had to go find it. When we actually did the order completion, we actually had to go back and refill some data that was missed or not filled out properly by the previous operators. Maybe we had someone that stepped away, or we had something that we just had to push through and they forgot to do it. And then when it finally got to my desk, wouldn't you know it, I spilled coffee all over it. But here's me with my huge stack of paper ready to do some data entry. So tracking all this production, this is typically what it might look like when it gets to me, right? I got all these scribbles, I got a coffee stain there. Someone scribbled a number down here at the bottom, 8675309, right? So there's sometimes information that's not important to the process that appears on here, or damage, or crinkling, or scribbles, or just things that are hard to read. I've been known to have terrible chicken scratch, right? If I had to fill these out, it probably would not look that great. But in the end, data is only communicated back to management at the end of production, at the end of the shift, at the end of that cycle. So you have delayed data capture, which equals delayed visibility and delayed problem solving. I can't solve anything until after it's gone through and I've entered the data and recorded it and tried to analyze it. So there's no long-term analytics here to help you improve your process either. Now, even if a traveler is filled out perfectly, we still have lots of missing information in this process. For instance, at the very beginning, we have to make sure that the right material is in stock, checking it via the MRP system or spreadsheets, or simply a visual inspection, going out to the shop and looking for it. But what about operational availability? What are some of the machines currently doing? Are they down for some reason like maintenance? Are they running at capacity already? What about the workers? Are they available? Or are they working on other jobs? Or are they on vacation? And what do we do with all that information once it's gathered? Well, it's got to be manually input into spreadsheets to be filtered out or added to reports. Then it can be ready for review and analysis, but that's not going to be for some time. In a perfect world, this is great, but unfortunately, that's not the reality. And issues are constantly occurring, requiring the need for adjustment. And to make these decisions, we need to know what is happening on the production floor in real time. Using the paper method of a meta system, when information is required in the middle of the manufacturing process, means the travel packets must be found on the floor in order to review them and gather the information needed. And this all takes time, reducing the ability to react and make decisions which can be mission critical for success and profitability. So in the big picture of things, how do these challenges impact your business? We often look at common pain points, and there are key areas where we often see the biggest issues. And those relate to the visibility of the inventory, production traceability, job tracking, and quality control. So these issues are impacting the work of your warehouse manager for real-time inventory tracking across the warehouse, the compliance manager for visibility into product production with simple visual workflows. If you are an ISO shop, compliance and auditing and tracing is ultimately extremely important to you. The production manager for job tracking, so data captured of your shop floor operations from both the workers and the machines. And your quality manager for creating checklists to validate parameters, wastes, flaws, first article inspections, things of that nature. These are all impacted by manual MES-based systems. And when we translate these challenges into your metrics and goals, there's an obvious set of warning signs. So deadlines can be missed. You can have delays. Efficiency can go down, and the bottleneck is hard to identify. Costs are going to go up beyond control because of these transparent or these transient issues that appear that are not being recorded. Waste and scrap rates are high and seemingly impossible problem to solve. Why are we having so much scrap? Where is it happening? And how can I react to it? Tracing production is a time-consuming effort, especially when you're getting audited. And often raw materials can run out, and sourcing them is a challenge that impacts the entire production line downstream. So how do we make it better? For this, I'm going to pass it over to our other presenter, Pete Markovic, and he's going to share with you some of the ways we can make it better.
All right, thanks, Mark. Did the transition work okay? Everybody see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it, Pete.
All right, thanks, Mark. So great lead up and lots of great useful information. So like Mark said, what do we do to make it better? So that's what I'm going to talk about here and introduce you to Prodsmart and how we can overcome some of these challenges. So what it really comes down to is, hold on one second here. My mode here. Okay, so what it really comes down to is transforming your organization, right? We want to go from a Charlie clipboard type of environment to a Tanya tablet type of environment, get us digital, get us into the electronic organization. And so that's a lot of times talked about as a digital transformation. So how do we achieve that? And this starts with moving away from using paper-based manual entry documented processes to going into a software-based solution that can capture your data electronically, which then in turn builds a historical repository of your manufacturing data that can then later be used to help us make better decisions, improve our efficiencies, and lower our manufacturing costs. So when looking at a manufacturing execution solution or a MES software solution, we want one that's modular and flexible in its design. What this will get us is a quicker implementation. We can pick and choose the features that we want to use initially, maybe add some things on later. Not every company needs every feature that a MES solution can offer. And you can start out with the most important ones that are important to your business. A good MES solution has to be real time. Looking at outdated data doesn't allow you to react, if necessary, to situations that need your attention. When data is collected, we've all been through this. We collect data on a Monday for a Wednesday's meeting. We get into the meeting, and a lot of things change in those 2 days since we collected the data. This MES solution can also, or should be able to be used in those types of meetings, in these review meetings, these manufacturing planning meetings, and bring everybody in collaboratively to look at real-time data and as well, which leads to making well-informed decisions. A good MES tool should also have the ability to track quality processes to ensure our designs and manufacturing processes are always on a continuous improvement path. And lastly, a good MES solution would enable a company to move to a just-in-time manufacturing environment, which returns into reducing inventory, reducing rework and scrap, again, lowering costs and improving and delivering higher profits. So if we were to sum Prodsmart up in a single sentence, it's a single source of truth, and I know we've all heard that, especially those of you guys that have worked with us at Vault and stuff, single source of truth, but it really is. It's a single source of truth, but for the manufacturing data, which is then accessible to the whole business, but it has the shop floor at its core. Okay? These manufacturing processes, they often involve more than just your factory floor workers, or they always involve more than just your factory floor workers. People out of purchasing, people out of scheduling, they need real-time access to this manufacturing data and to help them make better decisions so that they can procure the right materials, maybe do some sales forecasting and so on. having the single source to be able to go to, know that it's accurate, know that it's up to date, well, that's really critical to the success of any business. So all of these things that we say that should be part of a good, solid MES software solution, Prodsmart does. It's modular, it's flexible. It lets you get up and running production orders through your software in days, not weeks, not months. And although there's lots of functionality in there, I mean, when you see the different areas that you can go into, it looks a little bit maybe overwhelming at first, but you only have to deploy the functionality and manage the processes that you want to manage. And there are some minimum things that we do need to do in all these implementations, you know, such as set up operators, machines, and so forth. But it's a simple configuration. There isn't any customization that needs to be done. And then as you progress with the product, you can add in additional functionality, like maybe tracking inventory. Maybe it's not something you need to do initially, but it is one of your long-term goals, can be brought in as you have time in your business to do that. It's a plug and play. It truly is. It's delivered to the customer ready to use. Again, you do have to do some minor setup and data entry to basically get some of your production orders up and running. But very quickly, within a few days, you can start tracking your first production order. And then as you produce or track more, that starts building out this repository of manufacturing data, which now allows you to analyze these processes. Prodsmart can also integrate with other software you might already have. Some of these integrations are out of the box. I have a slide later on. We'll talk about some of that. And then capturing data. How do we get data into the system? Well, the clipboard and the pencil and paper and the manual entry can all be done using devices you probably already have today. Tablets, smartphones, scanners, barcode readers, and so on. All of those features can integrate easily into Prodsmart and be a source of inputting that information. And as mentioned before, this product is very scalable. So we can start out with just a few of the modules, a few of the functions, and then as time goes on or as our needs increase, we can start adding on additional things like maybe quality, supply chain management, and so forth. So what's a better way to introduce you to Prodsmart than watch a quick 2-minute video that'll kind of give you a quick overview? So I'll go ahead and kick this off.
Operating a production facility can be complicated, with a constant need to monitor everything from raw materials through to finished goods. To help address the challenges, production managers look to manufacturing execution systems, or MES, to track their production processes. But often these can be expensive to set up, painful to integrate, and under-deliver on addressing their true needs. Autodesk Prodsmart is different. Prodsmart is a go-anywhere, use-anywhere, cloud-connected MES and light enterprise resource planning system, which capitalizes on the use of web browsers and mobile devices for operation. This minimizes the IT overhead needed to get you up and running sooner and gives you the flexibility to start managing your production data today and adapt to your business as it grows. Focus on what's important, like monitoring your operations through production tracking dashboards and audit-ready quality compliance reports fed by real-time information collected from the shop floor, making it easy to visualize your production efficiency all the way from orders to shipping. Manage your teams, machines, and materials to optimize your production capacity and increase manufacturing throughput with material and resource planning, helping to minimize waste and reduce the environmental impact of your business. With scheduling for preventive or corrective machine maintenance to reduce production downtime. And integrate with upstream or downstream resource planning, customer relationships, and product lifecycle management systems to keep your data synchronized and prevent duplication. So, whether you need to improve your production workflow and execution, cope with change and quality management, or get visibility on throughput and machine maintenance, get your business future ready with Autodesk Prodsmart.
All right. Again, just a quick little introduction. There's a lot that they talked about in there. I'm going to go through a few more slides, talk about a few more of these things in a little bit more detail. Oops. There we go. So on these next few slides, I just grabbed some screen grabs from Prodsmart itself. And again, there are different interfaces to Prodsmart. There's the web interface. So it is software as a service. All you need on a PC is a web browser. It's a software as a service hosted by Autodesk. It also runs, there's a mobile application for iOS, for Android, so for Apple, for smartphones. And these are just some of the screen grabs I wanted to kind of just focus in on and show what the interface looks like, what the ease of use can look like. So when you first log into Prodsmart, the very first page that you get dropped onto is their dashboard. And obviously this is a wealth of information here. It's in real time. These values will constantly be updating. There's a feed up here in the upper left-hand corner. So as operators are checking off that they've completed operations, or they've moved materials, or they've completed a downtime event, or done a maintenance item on a machine, all that information is constantly being fed up to this dashboard in real-time information. So at any point, you can go in here and take a look at that. Again, wealth of information that a lot of organizations don't have. Sometimes you'll see this stuff being ran up on monitors throughout the production floor, just to kind of let everybody know where everything is at. Production orders, which is really at the heart of a MES system, right? It's how we get our things done. We put in an order, it's scheduled, we have resources assigned to it, there's operations assigned to it. So we have a nice interface for that, to adding new orders, looking at what orders are currently going through our system, where are they at. There's a lot of different features here that we can print out reports from. These production orders can also start from Fusion 360, or by importing a product from Fusion 360. So there's an integration between Prodsmart and Fusion Teams. I'll get to that in a little bit on a different slide. But if you're using Fusion 360 for your design process, that information, the bills of materials, the item numbers, part numbers, things like that, can all come directly over into Prodsmart without having to duplicate or do dual entry data. Scheduling. Another big part of any manufacturing process is, what do we have going through our shop at any given time? What are we planning to run 2 weeks from now? What are we planning to run a month from now? Again, nice, easy to use visualization to see where that's at. Workers. Well, we can't get our work done if we don't have our workers in the system. And again, using tablets, using barcode readers, you can have operators log into a machine, log into a process by simply just scanning their badge, or it can be a numerical, maybe they have a worker ID that they can type in. Any of those things work, but it lets you know who's working on what. At the end of this, we can go back and take a look at the efficiencies of our workers. Maybe we can see that one of our workers is producing more scrap than another worker. But again, workers are another one of those things that are at the core of a good MES system, and the data and the analytics that go around them and what they're doing, what processes they're doing in your system. What stock do we have on hand? We're talking about inventory management now. And this is a module that, again, is in Prodsmart. Real-time information on what materials, what products we have in inventory. We can easily go in there and see what our status is. Are we out of something? Are we in a negative quantity? Or for a run coming up, we're missing some stuff that we need to get in, or maybe we have an overabundance of something. But again, real-time information. Some of this could be coming in from ERP if you do an integration over to an ERP system. Material requirements, we're getting into a little bit more of the raw materials side now. What do we need when, right? What do we have coming up that we're going to need to have ordered, to have in our shop? There's an area for that, or a module, or to handle that as well. And then as we are entering this information, and we have Prodsmart up and running in our environment, we're collecting all this data. This is that data repository I mentioned, which is really the key thing. Even if today the paper travelers, Excel spreadsheets, things like that might get your products through the floor and out the door, but you really don't have a real good way of coming back and taking a look at it and saying, well, Did we do it the best way we can do it? Did we hit our targets? Did we get things done efficiently? How much scrap did we create? Things like that. So this system, by just people simply doing their jobs and documenting what they did, and again, it's not hard to do because we have the electronics ways of doing that, it all gets collected and aggregated into a database that we can now start pulling some analytics. So we can start looking at some quality reporting, as well as just basic analytics of, again, going back to the workers, seeing where we might have issues. Maybe we need to do some retraining with one of our employees. Maybe our work instructions aren't adequate for this particular operation because we're doing it wrong quite often. These things will become really apparent once you have that data and you can start to analyze it and take a look at it. And then I mentioned a few times here about integrations. So there is some out-of-the-box integrations with Prodsmart. One of them being to QuickBooks, which a lot of small, medium businesses might use that as their inventory ordering system. So there's an integration to that, pulling over information directly from there. Like I mentioned before, there's also an integration into Fusion 360, but it's really into Fusion Teams. So if you have things on your Fusion Teams like work instructions, drawings, maybe inspection reports, you might use Fusion 360 to generate an inspection report that then's housed on Fusion Teams. That can be brought over into Prodsmart and can be connected to a production order, can be connected to a product, however you see fit. That's some of the stuff that is out of the box. Now, if you have a need beyond the out of the box integrations, well, Prodsmart has a solution for that as well. They have a REST API. It's a well-documented API in terms of documentation. A lot of times in some of these products early on, this is one of the things that is overlooked. In this case, it's not. I've worked with a lot of other tools, and kind of in the early infancy, there's that the API is not there. So for doing integrations into other systems, like I said, ERP could be one of them, maybe PLM tools, maybe even like, Vault or something like that, if there was something we want to integrate there. But because it has an open API, well documented, it's a REST API, very familiar to developers, it can easily be integrated into other systems. Now, if you just decide to go down the path of Prodsmart and you're interested in some of these integrations, certainly you can reach out to IMAGINiT. We have an entire software development team that can assist you with this type of development if you don't have something in-house of your own. So one of the things we've kind of mentioned a few times here is the implementation, right? Days, not weeks. Could be maybe a couple weeks, but it's not certainly going to turn into months or quarters. A typical implementation to just get companies up and running is about a week, 1 to 5 days, maybe a little bit longer, just depending on what things we're turning on and what data we want to start out with. Again, we can start out kind of small and build up as we go. But this is one of those really tangible benefits of Prodsmart, is you can start getting your ROI back very, very quickly. So how do we get going? Well, there's a URL that you can go to. And again, you'll have a copy of the recording. You can go back and you can write this down. I'll leave it up for just a minute or so here. But you can request a 14-day trial. And what we'd ask is, if you do this, reach out to your IMAGINiT account executive to let us know that you signed up for the trial, so that we can make sure that we get engaged with you. We want to be a part of this and work alongside you to make sure that through those 14 days, you get as much out of this as you need and can get out of it. If at the end of the 14-day trial, you turn this into a production, it's not anything lost. These trials can be turned over to a production tenant. So whatever effort you put into those couple weeks doesn't get lost. But it's as simple as that. As well as when you're in the tool, there is an instant chat. This is directly to Autodesk, so that you can get kind of some guidance from them as well. So from the partners as well as from Autodesk, you're never alone in this journey. You'll have somebody there to always assist you, help you to get up and running until you're comfortable with where you need to be with Prodsmart. All right, I'll turn that back over to you, Mark, to finish this up.
Yep. So to just carry on from what Pete had mentioned there, our professional services team is rather unmatched in the Autodesk channel. So not only do we have the most resources and technology available, both Autodesk and non-Autodesk, but the levels of industry and consulting experience is just quite incredible. As this chart shows, we have teams that are specialists in different solutions of an industry, not just a product. And our experts have a very impressive tenure with the organization, Pete and myself included. It allows us to bring years of experience with other clients and other successes to your team. And this is a team that our organization heavily leverages as one of our competitive advantages within the Autodesk channel. Really, no team is better. So the PLM and desktop automation teams, the manufacturing solutions team, the software development teams are all at your beck and call for this, essentially. Pete, can you go to the next slide? Right. And again, we're just kind of acting as a strategic partner here, right? So we can definitely help streamline and optimize your business processes as you're approaching an MES system and help you choose the technology in a very strategic way. And I'll guess beating the horse there a little bit, but leverage decades of experience to assist with this endeavor. And in the end, help upscale your workforce. To kind of, meet some of the challenges of an MES system and changes to an environment, right? Upskilling your workforce is a very important part of that. So there are a lot of Charlie clipboards that you feel like it's going to be hard to maybe change their mind about using a tablet instead. Well, a lot of times you can really win your team over by tying performance to appraisals and performance boosts, profit sharing, bonuses of the like. It's all for the betterment of the company. So there's definitely a lot of ways you can upskill your workforce and get them into the adoption of an electronic MES system without trying to shake the tree too much, so to speak. Next slide. So here at the end, we'd like to thank you for your time today, and we're going to open this up for some Q&A.